Okay, so I've done a, pictorial tutorial that'll be linked in the links below. You can go check that out, and it'll have a little more detail because like I said, I don't have a tripod yet, so making videos is a little difficult of this part of the exercise, as I only have two hands. But I take this 8 to 10 inch balsa wood, and I've taped it to make it more durable, so that when I'm wrapping the threads around this piece of wood, it doesn't bend. It just helps you keep the threads straighter and tighter packed together. I tape down one edge, and you can see on the top here I have this slick 3M safe release tape. That slickness allows you to slide the threads together a little easier when you're packing them together. And so I need 112 threads for this weave. So I'm going to wrap around this board about 120 times because I like to have a few extras just in case one pulls through while I'm setting everything up. And when I get to thread 56, I'm going to split them. And so there's going to be a little bit of a video of me just wrapping threads to show how I pack them while I'm wrapping them. And I keep my Madeira on the floor and I wrap with my hands. And then when I get to 56, I'll split. And that's on another video that I did when I was laying out my last rod. And so it won't be for this rod, but it's the same thing. It'll be following this. That's good. Okay, so we're back to the weave that I'm doing the tutorial on. I've got I have wrapped my thread around this board 122 times. Okay, that's because I'm going to scrap this thread and I'm going to scrap the thread on the right because those are the two that are securing it and they're going to be short. So I need 2 extra threads. I wanted 120. Now my weave is 112 threads, but with the Madeira thread, if you don't get it taped down well, it can pull through while you're putting it in the jig. So it's always a good idea to have a few extras. In this case, I'm going to have 8 extra threads. Once I have the jig all laid out, then I'll cut away the extra threads. Or leave them, it doesn't matter. You can wrap over them and just never pull them left. It's not a big deal. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put a piece of tape across here. And then I'm going to put a piece of tape below it with a gap between across here. And I'll come back after I do that. Okay, so I've put the tape across the 2 spots that I said I was going to. I labeled this one left and this one right. Once you put the tape on there, you want to rub it down really well with your burnishing tool. I've already done that. I'm just doing an example here. And I like to use this painter's tape because it's much more sticky than masking tape, and it helps hold the threads a little more securely. So now what I'm going to do is cut between these 2 pieces of tape right here with a razor blade, cutting all my threads. And after I cut them, then I'm going to peel this piece of tape off. Not off the thread, just off the board. You want to be really careful when you get to the edge of the thread that you peel from both sides so that the thread stays stuck to the tape, and then just lay it down to the left right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll come back when it's done. And there you go. So you can see how tightly packed those are on this side by the board, and they're right on top of each other. Now I'm going to lay a piece of tape down sticky side to sticky side across here. Okay, so there you go, sticky side to sticky side. You'll notice that the left that I had written on this side is now on the bottom. You'll want that to be on the bottom when you go on the rod. The part that was on the top will be on the bottom when it goes on the rod, so that your threads are separated at the correct spot. It's not that important on this particular weave because it's only a single layer weave, and the middle of this bunch of threads is going to be the middle of the rod. So I mean, it doesn't matter for this. But sometimes when you're doing a multiple layer weave, if you have an additional color, it's not necessarily going to be placed in the center of the rod. And you follow the same process that I just did. You just split the threads wherever the middle thread is. So say you had a design that had red on the bottom half of the image, and so you only needed thread 56 through 116 to be red. In that case, you would just wrap 56 times, and your top thread would go on the 56 if we're working with, 112 thread weave like we're talking about for this tutorial. And if you had one that ran from 35 to 70, well, you still want to mark the 56th thread. So you would wrap 30 through 56 and then split those so that 56 was still in the middle. I hope that makes sense. Maybe my next tutorial will be a multi-layer weave so that I can explain that a little better. Anyway, so on this end, I've removed my board, as you can see, and I peeled this end loose. That's what you should see on your right side. Now I'm going to take a razor and I'm going to split this gap, and we'll pick up from there.